Imagine this. You're sitting in a meeting. Your boss says, "That's a great idea," but their arms are folded tight across their chest, one hand gripping the opposite elbow, fingers tapping against their sleeve like a metronome. Or picture yourself on a first date. They're smiling, laughing even, but their hands are hidden under the table, knuckles pressed together like they're holding something back. Your ears hear the words, but your brain? Your brain whispers, greater than something doesn't match. Welcome to the hidden language of the hands, a language so ancient, so instinctive, that you've been speaking it and reading it your entire life, without even realizing it. Hand gestures are not just decorations for speech. They are psychological windows into thoughts and emotions, often revealing the truth before someone says a single word. Today, we're going on a deep dive into the psychology of hand gestures. We'll explore the science of why your hands betray your feelings, the history of gestures dating back thousands of years, and how to decode the subtle signals hiding in every conversation. By the end, you won't just hear people's words. You'll read their minds. And here's the wild part. Once you learn this skill, you can't unsee it. Every handshake, every wave, every nervous fidget will tell you a story. Let's start at the very beginning, before words even existed. Before words, the birth of gesture language, long before humans built cities, invented writing, or recorded history, we had gestures. Imagine early humans roaming in small tribes. They didn't have hello or thank you. They had waves, nods, and hand signals. A raised palm could mean stop. An open hand toward a piece of meat could mean share. Pointing could guide someone toward water, or warn of a predator lurking in the grass. Anthropologists believe gestures may be older than spoken language itself. Sure, our ancestors could grunt, but gestures allowed for precise communication, especially across distances or in noisy environments where speech wouldn't work. Modern neuroscience reveals that gesture processing happens in the same brain regions as speech, areas like Broca's area in the left hemisphere. This suggests speech might have evolved out of gesture. Our hands were our first words. Even today, remove language, and gestures still bridge the gap. Travel to a country where you don't speak the language, and you'll still find yourself using hand signs to order food, ask for directions, or signal stop. And let's not forget survival value. Gestures are silent. Hunters could signal prey location without making a sound. Warriors could warn of an ambush without alerting the enemy. Over generations, gestures became more sophisticated. They were no longer just about survival. They became about connection. An open palm, trust, honesty. Hands raised, surrender or appeal. Hands on hips, readiness, challenge. Fast forward thousands of years, and we're still wired to interpret hand gestures instinctively. You might not consciously think, he just rubbed his palms. Maybe he's anticipating something. But your subconscious registers it and adjusts your perception of that person. Understanding this hidden language gives you an advantage in everything from dating to job interviews. It's like having emotional subtitles for real life. The science of hand gestures. Why do hands give away so much? The answer lies in the brain-body connection. Your limbic system, the part of your brain responsible for emotions and survival instincts, communicates directly with your muscles, often bypassing conscious control. When you feel anxious, your hands might fidget, rub together, or seek comfort by touching your face. When you feel confident, your hands open up, your palms are visible, and your movements are broader. Facial expressions can be faked, words can be carefully chosen, but hand movements? They're harder to fake consistently. Studies show that gesturing actually helps your brain think. A University of Chicago study found that people who used their hands while explaining complex ideas understood and remembered them better. Gestures offload some of the brain's cognitive load. Your hands are essentially your brain as external hard drives. That's why when someone's passionate about a subject, their hands often become animated. It's not just drama, it's biology. Excitement activates the motor cortex, flooding your muscles with energy. There's also the fascinating world of microgestures, small, subtle movements that often reveal hidden emotions. A quick palm rub, anticipation, a wrist grab, self-restraint, fingers flexing, impatience. These gestures are gold for interrogators, negotiators, and even poker players. In fact, law enforcement training manuals explicitly recommend watching the hands as much as the face. Because here's the thing, the face can lie, the hands not so much. Common hand gestures and what they mean. Let's break down some of the most common and telling hand gestures. 1. Open palms. An open palm, facing upward or outward, signals honesty and openness. Think of a preacher delivering a sermon or a politician greeting a crowd. It's one of the oldest trust signals we have. 2. Steepling fingers. When someone presses their fingertips together in a church steeple shape, it's often a sign of confidence, sometimes even dominance. You'll see lawyers do it in court, CEOs in boardrooms. 3. Hands on hips. This power pose signals readiness, confidence, or even aggression. It makes the body look bigger, a leftover from our animal ancestors who puffed up to appear threatening. 4. Touching the neck or face, a self-soothing gesture, often linked to stress or uncertainty. In women, touching the side of the neck can also be a subconscious flirting signal, revealing a vulnerable area. 5. Clenched fists. Clenched fists can signal anger, frustration, or determination. Sometimes they're a sign of someone holding back strong emotions. 6. Pointing can be directive or aggressive. It can command attention, but overuse feels domineering. 7. Palm rubbing usually signals positive expectation, like a waiter about to deliver food or a poker player holding a strong hand. 8. Hidden hands. Keeping hands in pockets or behind the back can signal defensiveness, shyness, or concealment. 9. Fidgeting, tapping fingers, drumming on a surface, or picking at nails often signals impatience or nervous energy. 10. Mirroring. When two people unconsciously match each other's gestures, it's a sign of rapport and trust. Cultural differences and misinterpretations. Here's the thing, while many hand gestures are universal, others are cultural landmines. A friendly sign in one country can be an insult in another. If you want to read minds accurately, you must consider culture. Let's break down some examples. Thumbs up in the US and much of Europe, it's positive, good job, or all good. In parts of the Middle East, West Africa, and South America, it's, well, a rude gesture. Okay sign, thumb and forefinger making a circle. In the US, it means okay. In Brazil, Turkey, and some Mediterranean countries, it can mean something highly offensive. In Japan, it can mean money. Beckoning with one finger in the West, it's casual. Come here. In the Philippines, it's used to call dogs. Doing it to a person is insulting. V-sign palm out. Victory or peace in the West. Palm in, especially in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. Offensive. Crossed fingers in the West, wishing for luck. In Vietnam, considered obscene because of its anatomical resemblance to certain body parts. Why do these differences exist? Because gestures are shaped by shared cultural experiences, and what is harmless in one group can trigger strong reactions in another. The takeaway: when reading hand gestures, always filter them through the cultural lens. Ask yourself, is this person's body language shaped by the same cultural dictionary as mine? Microgestures and hidden signals. Microgestures are the blink and you miss it movements that often reveal true emotion before someone can consciously hide it. They last less than a second, but they read gold for anyone who knows what to watch for. Some common microgestures. 1. Thumbs tucking in, often seen when someone's feeling insecure or submissive. 2. Wrist touch, a subconscious way to comfort oneself in moments of anxiety. 3. Finger splaying, hands spread wide briefly, often linked to surprise or emphasis. 4. Palm flashes. Quick flashes of open palms can signal honesty or a plea for understanding. 5. Sudden hand withdrawal. Pulling hands away mid-gesture can indicate discomfort or a change in thought. Why they matter? Micro-gestures come straight from the limbic brain. They happen before conscious editing. Spotting them can give you real-time insight into someone's shifting emotions. Interrogators, poker champions, and skilled negotiators all train themselves to catch these fleeting movements because they read like leaks in a dam. Once you spot one, you know what's really flowing underneath. Reading gestures in context. Here's the golden rule of reading hand gestures. Never read them in isolation. One gesture can have multiple meanings depending on the situation. A clenched fist in a protest versus during a sports game. The person's baseline. Some people fidget constantly, even when calm. The cluster of other gestures and expressions happening at the same time. For example, crossed arms plus tight fists plus narrowed eyes. Likely anger. Crossed arms plus relaxed face plus slight smile. Maybe just comfort or self-hugging. Professional body language readers always look for clusters, at least 3 signals pointing to the same conclusion before making a judgment. Also watch for changes. If someone suddenly hides their hands after being open, it could mean the conversation just touched a sensitive point. Hand gestures in high-stakes situations. Hand gestures are amplified in high-pressure scenarios. Politics. Politicians often use controlled, deliberate gestures. Thumb point. Thumb resting on top of a closed fist. Strong without being aggressive. Chop motion to emphasize a point. Open palm sweep to convey inclusiveness. Business negotiations. Skilled negotiators mirror the other party's gestures subtly to build trust. They also avoid crossing arms or hiding hands. Both can signal defensiveness. Law enforcement interrogators watch for sudden changes in hand position, self-soothing gestures, incongruent movements. For example, saying yes but hands shake side to side. Using gestures to influence. Reading gestures is powerful. Using them strategically is even more so. If you want to project confidence, use open palms and broad gestures. Keep movements purposeful, not jittery. If you want to build trust, mirror the other person's hand movements subtly. Keep palms visible. It's a primal honesty signal. If you want to persuade, use hand gestures to paint your points in the air. Anchor your words to visual movements. For example, 3 steps with 3 fingers up. But beware, overusing or forcing gestures feels fake, and people are surprisingly good at spotting that. Myths about reading hand gestures. Let's bust some myths. Myth 1. One gesture equals one meaning. Nope, context changes everything. Myth 2. Crossing arms always means defensiveness. Sometimes it's just comfortable or a way to keep warm. Myth 3. You can always tell when someone's lying by their hands. Hand gestures can signal stress, but stress isn't always lying. Myth 4. All cultures read gestures the same way. We covered this dangerous assumption. How to train your gesture reading skills. Like any skill, reading hand gestures gets sharper with practice. Step 1. Watch people in everyday situations, cafes, meetings, TV interviews. Step 2. Pay attention to baseline behavior. What's normal for that person? Step 3. Look for clusters of gestures, not single movements. Step 4. Link changes in gestures to changes in conversation topics. Pro tip: watch interviews with the sound off. You'll be amazed how much you can pick up just from the hands. Your hands are storytellers. They reveal your confidence, your nerves, your intentions, sometimes even before you know what you're feeling. By learning to read them, you've unlocked a skill that few people consciously have. You'll notice when someone's excitement is genuine, when their smile hides doubt, when their yes comes with a flicker of hesitation. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. This isn't about manipulating or judging people unfairly. It's about listening better, connecting deeper, and understanding more fully. So next time you're in a conversation, don't just hear the words, watch the hands. They might just tell you everything you need to know.